Cain supporters, well, they're out with a new web ad this morning saying the stories of sexual harassment by the Republican presidential candidate in the 1990s are a racist attack by the liberals and the press. Political correspondent Jan Crawford joins us now from Washington with more. Jan, how is this playing out?
Well, I mean, Herman Cain is trying to stay above all this personally. He's saying he is back to focusing on policy and his campaign. But yeah, his supporters are defending him. We do have that web out today. And also we're going to hear possibly today from one or more of the women who are said to have accused Cain of sexual harassment during the time that he was heading up the National Restaurant Association. It may decide whether or not they're going to release them from their confidentiality agreements today.
The impact, I guess that's the big question. What type of impact is this having on his campaign now that this has gone on all week?
Chris, I mean, so far, people are really sticking behind Herman Cain. His supporters are. There is a new Washington Post poll that is just out just a few moments ago that shows nationally he is still a frontrunner tied for first place with Mitt Romney. And that's reflected in a lot of the reporting that we've been doing, talking to voters, particularly out in Iowa, where supporters of Cain say, you know, they just think this is going to fade away. They think these charges are, quote, sketchy, one person told us, and it's just not really that pertinent. And interestingly, the campaign is still raising lots of money. They've raised more money this week, $1.2 million, since this story broke on Sunday night than they have a few months combined. And then finally, I think, look at talk radio. I mean, you know that is very important with conservative voters. The conservative talk radio hosts like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, they are really rallying to his defense, and that could end up being a huge help to him if they stay with him.
Well, like Bob Schieffer had mentioned earlier in the broadcast, he said usually basically one of the first bits of damage control to say, oh, yes, we're raising more money. How does Herman Cain, Jan, stay on point, though? He wants this to be an issue that's behind him, but when now racism is brought into question here, and now we may potentially get a statement from one of the women. How does he stay on point with all this going on and with so many people following him, just badgering him with questions?
You know, that's a great question. I think that's one his campaign advisors are asking themselves. How can they put this behind him? Obviously, it's not so easy. We're talking about it every day. You have new details that kind of seem to emerge. Still anonymous at this point, still pretty thinly sourced. One anonymous source here, one anonymous source there. If that continues, obviously, he's going to start saying, look, the media is just out to get me, and conservative voters are going to really respond to that because they don't trust the media anyway. They think it's biased, a liberal bias in the press. And so if that continues, he should be able to ride this out. The problem, though, is if these women come forward with details, there's faces put to some of these allegations, that's when it's going to be especially hard to put it behind him.
All right. CBS's Jan Crawford in Washington for us this morning. Jan, thank you.